I'm back. So, this is a quick video about the syllabus and a couple of other things that have to do with the course. One of the key things that you should notice is that there is this little thing down here that looks like a multi-headed monster, and that's actually supposed to be three little people. But if you click on that, then you can see immediately who's present in the class. You can't, for some reason in La Lima, message anyone through that app, but at least you can see who's there at the time and maybe send an email or something like that. Anyway, let's go on to the course syllabus. The course syllabus is the Bible for this class. This tells us everything about how the class is going to work and everything that you need to know about the rules of the class and how grading is done, etc. So I'm going to expand all in the syllabus so that we can see everything that's here. And then I'll go through these one by one and let you know exactly what they are. So be prepared for a long haul. Maybe it's time to grab a cup of coffee, sit down in a comfy chair, and get ready for an explanation. All right, so the course is Asian Studies 202. You can see that Asian Studies 202 is an introduction to South and Southeast Asia. Although it looks like I'm going to have to change that title. And we're going to be talking about this area right here. This is the South China Sea. Plus, we'll be talking about the area to the west of that, where we'll be looking at India and the Indian Ocean. So these are the two primary areas that we'll be discussing this semester. The information that you need to contact me is also right here in the syllabus. My name is Patrick Patterson. You can call me Dr. Pat if you want. My email is ppatters@hawaii.edu. You do not need to use all caps. In fact, it's actually all little letters. So please feel free to email me at any time, or you can email me through the course right here by clicking on the email link. You can reach me in my office at 845-9417. I try and check my messages often. But I may miss your message, so it's usually best to email me if you can. And email or discussion during virtual office hours, which run from about 9 to 10 on Mondays. So I'll always be here looking at my computer from 9 to 10 on Mondays. My office, if you want to stop by and talk with me in person, is in Building 7. That's the library building on the HCC campus on the 6th floor, room 617. That's on the Mauka side of the building and in the center block of offices. And if you take the elevators up, go down the breezeway all the way to the Mauka side and turn right, my office is the third one on the right side. So that's me. Photograph of me there, and here's the general information of the course. So there's a catalog description. The course is about understanding South and Southeast Asia through multidisciplinary approaches. My master's and PhDs are in history, but we'll be using history, anthropology, social science, economics, and various other approaches to understanding South and Southeast Asia. So this course is not limited to history by any means. It examines the interrelationship of policies, economy, literature, religion, the arts, and history as the basis for such an understanding. Most of this course, then, is going to be about contemporary Southeast Asia. We will, in the beginning, talk somewhat about the deep history of Southeast Asia and South Asia. Particularly, we're interested in issues of religion and cultural genesis. We're interested in the way that religious and philosophical ideas from South and Southeast Asia, from the Middle East, and from East Asia have impacted South and Southeast Asian cultures. And then we'll get into thinking about how those things impact the politics, economics, social structures, and other issues that go on today. So that's one of the reasons why I'll be asking you to read current events in various different journals about Asia. So those are the basic ideas of the basic description of the course. The course goals, there are two primary goals in this course. It's to provide an introduction to modern Southeast Asian and South Asian society by drawing upon the perspectives of several different disciplines. And then also the second goal is to examine the idea of Asian studies in the West. What we're looking at is a discipline, sort of like, history or anthropology or whatever, that attempts to study something that is, in a sense, foreign to it. Asian studies was born, obviously, based on the title, in the West as a way to study Asia as a kind of other. And this makes things sort of problematic already, since we are looking at Asia from the outside in. And we're going to try and find ways to talk about whether we can do that, whether studying something from the outside is legitimate, whether it's possible to find ways into Asian culture and study it from the inside, and various other issues that have to do with the idea of Asian studies. So this course transfers. It's a designated diversification H, or humanities course. That means that the course uses the terminology of historical, philosophical, language, or religious studies, that it involves texts, artifacts, concepts, processes, theories, or issues of concern in Asian studies, and that it demonstrates inquiry that involves the methods of study, reflection, evidence gathering, and argumentation that are used in Asian studies. So it's a diversifications course, and it transfers to other courses or other campuses in the UH system that use diversification humanities as a core area, which is most of them. The student learning outcomes for this course: by the end of the semester, you as a student should be able to demonstrate an ability to identify the basic precepts of various South and Southeast Asian religions, and be able to make comparisons regarding the social impact of those religions in different times and contexts. So we will be talking about them and applying them at various points in the course. You'll also be able to describe basic family structures within South and Southeast Asian societies, and you should be able to describe the differences and similarities in family structure across cultures. Describe the state of international relations in contemporary South and Southeast Asia and relate that to current events. And there is quite a bit to do on that, and it'll be interesting. You'll also be able to demonstrate an ability to make informed comparisons between South and Southeast Asian societies in terms of modern cultural, political, and economic developments. You should be able to relate global, regional, and local events and issues to the events and issues of the region and local developments in various South and Southeast Asian societies. And you should be able to describe the geographical, demographic, political, and cultural structures of various Asian societies. So we'll really be trying to place South and Southeast Asia in a global context, in a historical context, in a social and anthropological context, and understanding what they are. And again, mostly we're trying to understand them as societies that exist today. So our focus is primarily contemporary, but we have to apply historical, religious, and philosophical studies to that in order to make sense out of societies that have grown from such a distant past. So the course themes: we're going to be studying by paying special attention to several specific themes. We're going to try and understand what Asian studies is as a field and what it can contribute to an understanding of Asia as a part of the world. We'll be talking about the role of religion in constituting society. We'll be talking about politics and the nation in a global context. And we'll be talking about economics, business, and trade in a global economy. There is no required text for this course. Primarily, the lectures that I provide online will constitute the text because this is a zero textbook cost class. However, there are readings, and those readings will be provided to you online, and those readings are required. So although you don't have to buy them, you do have to read them, and they are an important part of the course. Not reading them will cause you some serious issues. We're going to go on in just a minute to talking about the course schedule. The course is scheduled out this semester to begin with some of the historic and religious and philosophical ideas so that we can use those as a basis to talk about South and Southeast Asia today. We're starting today with the course introduction, and that's part of what this video is a part of. And then we'll start on Monday with early India. Now, the schedule looks like it's divided up into weeks, and in a sense it is, because our communication is a little bit slower via the online system than it is in a classroom where we're actually face to face. However, the amount of work in each week is equal to the amount of work that you would do in a face-to-face course. So you do need to be online, if not every day, certainly every other day this week, and every week. Make sure that you spend enough time on that. Let's continue. On the 21st of January, we'll start talking about the spread of Buddhism and empires in South and Southeast Asia. And then on the 20th, we'll talk about the Indian Ocean trade and how important it was in creating the first sort of global trade system. On the 4th of February, we will talk about the arrival of Islam and begin discussing its impact on South and Southeast Asia, how it spread, and how that affected trade, economics, politics, social organization, etc. On the 11th of February, we'll add Europeans to the mix and talk about European armed trading in the Indian Ocean and how that led to the imperialism that we begin to discuss on the 18th of February. By the 25th, we will have begun to talk about World War I, the mandate system, and the effects of imperialism throughout South and Southeast Asia. And then on March 4th, we'll talk about the arrival and departure of Japan, World War II, the end of colonization on the 11th of March, and the way that all of that may have affected the development of South and Southeast Asia in the 20th century. The 22nd of March is spring break, but when we come back on the 25th, we'll begin talking about Cold War and the non-aligned movement, and then we'll talk about the war in Vietnam. We'll talk about the economic growth of ASEAN on the 8th of April. On the 15th of April, we'll start dealing with the 1997 economic meltdown and its impact on global markets and economies, and particularly on South and Southeast Asia. On the 22nd of April, we'll start talking in great detail about contemporary issues and trying to relate them to everything we've learned. And then on the 29th of April, we'll start trying to think about how Southeast Asia may be developing now and what the issues of the future may be. Now, this looks like a historical syllabus, but in fact, throughout the entire thing, we're going to be trying to apply these issues to contemporary South and Southeast Asian societies. So in a sense, we'll be dealing with contemporary issues throughout the course and trying to apply historical knowledge and anthropological knowledge to the developments and changes in South and Southeast Asian society. You can see that there are two midterm exams, one on the 11th of February and one on the 25th of March, right after spring break. There is a research paper due on the 25th of February and a comparative literature paper due on the 15th of April. There's a final exam the week of May 6th to the 9th. And there will also be regular discussions that are due weekly. Each week, those discussions will include answers to questions that I give you, but also they'll include summaries and analyses of articles that you have read in various literature and journal and newspapers about contemporary South and Southeast Asian events. So those are the things that we'll be doing. Now that you know what we'll be studying and what our schedule of study is, you're asking yourself, how do I get my grade? Well, I'm glad you asked. There is a list of assignments and exams right here. We have, as I said, class discussions and exercises every week. We'll have a midterm exam on the 11th of February and another midterm exam on the 25th of February. Each one of those is worth 15% of your grade. The class discussions and exercises all together are worth 20% of your grade. Your research paper is also worth 15%. Your comparative literature paper is worth 15%, and your final exam is worth 20%. So this means that all of your grades are weighted. It's not a straight percentage system. That is to say, the sum total of your class discussions and exercises is graded and then added together, and that makes up 20% of your final grade each midterm makes up 15% of your final grade. So if you get 100% on your midterm exam 1, then you get the full 15% that belongs to that. If you get less than 100%, then you'll get slightly less than 15%. The midterm exam 2, the same thing. Each research paper, the same thing. And the final exam, of course, worth 20. So if you're curious about how the grades are calculated, you can certainly ask me anytime. Mostly I use the automated system on Laulima because it is faster and I can set up the weighting in there relatively easily. And so you can always find your grade in the Gradebook Classic tool in Laulima. And that grade does reflect the weighted nature of the grades that you've been given. So you can certainly look that up at any time. But if you have questions, feel free to ask and I'll try and explain how the grading works for you. There are academic expectations, especially for your papers and essays. So adequate and acceptable work at the first year and second year level will receive a C grade. That means that you've done what you were expected to do, no more or no less. B grades denote work that is better than adequate, and an A grade shows truly exceptional work. So please be aware of that fact. Grading of written work is based on a rubric which is below. So there are several items that are involved in this rubric as I grade your written work. Those include, I'm looking for in every written response that you give, a thesis statement that gives an interpretive answer to the question that you are answering. I'm looking for solid organization, a sense that you've thought through the problem and you've decided how to organize your answer. I'll be looking for acceptable grammar. I'm not a stickler when it comes to grammar. I understand that much of what you're writing is written quickly, and our focus in this class is on analyzing culture, not on writing perfect grammar, but I do need to be able to understand what you're saying. So please pay attention to your sentences and make sure that you're saying what you mean to say. Your vocabulary and precision is important. Word choice needs to be precise and serve to advance the argument. Use of casual words with general meanings that don't make your meaning clear is not very useful in an academic or even a work context. And so do pay attention to the vocabulary that you use and make sure that it is precise. If you have a sense of chronology, that is to say, if you're talking about developments over time, you need to show that you understand a sense of the passing of time. You should be thinking about cause and effect of the items that you're analyzing. Your analysis should be clear. You should take apart problems and analyze each part of them and then show how they fit back together. So that cause and effect reading is a part of what I'm grading when I'm grading your written work. I'm looking for your assertions to be made clearly and that those assertions are directly related to the thesis statement of your paper. You need to back up what you write with facts and evidence. Don't make simple assertions without evidence. You need to show why your assertion is correct and show that in the paper that you've written or in the paragraph that you've written. Even something as small as a paragraph should always have reasons, facts, and evidence to back it up. I want to see critical thinking. You should understand the evidence that you're using and the points of view that are different from your own and be able to take those into account. And finally, you should always find some sort of conclusion that draws meaning from the items discussed, from the analysis that you're making. Don't just leave it. And certainly remember that evidence never speaks for itself. You have to interpret it, and that's part of what your conclusion does. So I assign grades based on performance, and the grade levels given to the right of the table are really just examples, not guarantees of points assigned. The grading of assignments and quizzes will be based on separate standards that have much more to do with factual information. So this rubric is for written work only. That is to say, something other than multiple choice and fill-in-the-blank quizzes. Late paper assignments will be docked a full grade level per day until they're turned in. So if your paper is not turned in by midnight on the due date, I will consider it a week late, and you will receive one grade level reduced. Quizzes and discussions in class may not be turned in late and may not be made up. That's just a simple fact, and you have nearly a week to do every one of them, so please don't try and turn in discussions and quizzes late, particularly discussions. We're working on specific events and ideas each week, and you need to be present in those discussions. Answering the question is not the goal. The goal is discussing with your classmates, and if you're not there, you can't do that effectively, and they don't benefit from your knowledge, and you don't benefit from theirs. So you can't make those up. You just have to do them at the time they're due. If you haven't handed in both of your papers, taken both exams, and participated in at least 10 of the class discussions, you won't pass the course. You just need to participate. That's critical. Everyone learns from everyone else in this class, and so you need to be there. Even if you've earned a 70% score, but you haven't turned in a paper or you haven't done at least 10 class discussions, you won't be able to pass. So make sure that you're here. Make sure that you take that commitment and run with it. Okay. So I'm required to have a policy on plagiarism and a policy on cheating. There are a couple of things that you should know about this. Number one, I believe in all of you, and I don't think anyone is going to cheat or plagiarize, so I'm really not expecting that. But in case something like that happens, I do have a policy. Plagiarism is not tolerated, so make sure that none of your work is plagiarized. I do read every paper, and I have a pretty good idea of what the evidence is that's out there and the writing that's out there. So I have a pretty good feel for what is plagiarized, and if I find something that I think is plagiarized, I will look for it. So it's best just not even to take the chance. If you're not sure what plagiarism is, you can always send in a paper to me before the due date and ask me to check it over, and I will be happy to do that. It helps both of us because it gives you the chance to actually do the work that you want to do, and it gives me a chance to give a grade to you that I really would rather do. So if you do plagiarize something, I will fail it. It just won't be tolerated. If it happens again, then I'll ask you to leave the class. So don't plagiarize. As far as cheating goes, this is a kind of a difficult issue for me because we will not be doing exams at proctoring centers this semester. I believe that we can do exams that are somewhat realistic, that you can do at home on your computers with access to the internet and still be rigorous in showing how you understand Asian studies. So I'm not particularly worried about cheating on exams this semester because our exam format will be different from the traditional exam system. When it comes to communicating with me, you can communicate with me from several ways. I've mentioned this in a couple of other videos. You can communicate with me using announcements tool, using email. As I said, please do not use the private messages tool in discussion and private messages because I never look at that. It just is very difficult and it makes the class disorganized. You can always communicate with me in class, and by that I mean via the discussion posts or that sort of thing. You can also use the email function in the email tool on the left-hand toolbar. I use My Success occasionally, and I'll let you know if I don't see you in class or if you're doing a phenomenally good job in class, either way. You can always catch me during office hours, and I have those written on the syllabus. You can also catch me during virtual office hours, which are between 9 and 10 a.m. on Mondays. And I'll be on my computer waiting for you to do that. We also have the possibility of giving disability accommodations in this class. So if you do have a disability and you need special accommodations, before you contact me about it, you need to contact Student Access. And that is available by going to room 302 in Building 7 or calling 844-2392, or you can email accesshcc-l@lists.edu. And they'll help you get the accommodations that you need. Also, as a student, you are expected to be responsible in relationships with others and respect the special interests of Honolulu Community College. So if you have questions about the Student Conduct Code, you can find it at this link. At Honolulu Community College, we have a number of services for students, and I want to make you aware of as many of those as possible. We also have a sex discrimination and gender-based violence resources system that is compliant with Title IX. And the University of Hawaii, especially Honolulu Community College, is committed to providing you with a learning, working, and living environment that promotes personal integrity, civility, and mutual respect, and is free of all forms of sex discrimination and gender-based violence, including sexual assault, sexual harassment, gender-based harassment, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. I am particularly serious about this, so if you or someone you know is experiencing any of these, the university has staff and resources on your campus to support and assist you, and you should take advantage of those. If you need to remain anonymous and you need to speak with someone confidentially, then you can reach the HCC confidential contact at 845-9180 or at hccwell@hawaii.edu. If you report anything to me, I am what's known as a responsible reporter, and I'm required to let you know, or to let the administration know about your report. So I'm happy to help you in any way I possibly can, but please be aware that if you give me any details, I may need to report those. So before you do that, check with me, and we'll talk about finding you the resources that you need. So those things are important, and I want to make sure that you take advantage of anything that you can if you need some help. Anything that happens to an HCC student, even if it happens off campus, is something that HCC is concerned with, and we can and will help you. This virtual classroom is also a safe zone. A safe zone identifies persons and places that are open and accepting to all people, regardless of one's sexual orientation or gender and identity expression. I take this very seriously. I've had safe zone training, and I do want to be an ally in any way that I can. So again, if you need assistance, please feel free to contact me, and I do want to make sure that in discussions, etc., we all respect each other in this class. There are additional student support services. Ongoing student support, you can walk into the care office at any time from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. If you're falling behind in class and you don't feel that you can contact me about it, I'm really open to being contacted, by the way, and I don't judge you if you've fallen behind and that sort of thing. I really just want to help. But if for some reason you feel you need help in other ways, there's a tutoring support center on the HCC campus on the 3rd floor of Building 7. That's the library building. You can also get assistance from librarians on how to use the library, and that may be useful to you in this course. There are also additional services. You can find them at honolulu.hawaii.edu/services. And our wellness center, again, provides crisis and short-term counseling and community referral services to registered students. Services are free, voluntary, and confidential. So you can use that, and I encourage you to take advantage of those services. All of that said, there is also a set of links right here to, it's called HCC DE Student Links. You all have it on your tab bar on Laulima, and you can find services that belong to you as students. You can take advantage of these services even if you are not based at Honolulu Community College as your home campus. Since you are registered at HCC, for even one class, you have access to these services. So please do look this over and take advantage of the services that you need. So that's the syllabus and all of the services that are available to you. I'm looking forward again to getting to know you this semester, and I hope that this helps you get started on the right foot. Please make sure that you contact me about anything at all, even if you're falling behind or you're struggling. I need to know, and I can help you out. I'm thinking this is going to be a great semester, and let's get going as quickly as we can.